It's the richest greyhound race in the world and probably the most prestigious race. It's worth $600,000 in prize money, and I am, of course, talking about the 2017 TAB Melbourne Cup. It's all happening this Friday night, James, at Sandown Park. Yep. I feel like you must be very excited for this one.
I am indeed. It's the summit of the greyhound racing mountain. It's what we're all in this game trying to achieve, the ultimate reward, which is the TAB Melbourne Cup. Friday night, Group 1 race, $600,000 in prize money, and as well as that, it's just the $1 million night. Projected quaddy pool with TAB of $1 million. Fanta Bale, if she runs a place in the bowl, Trease, cracks the $1 million. And we add to that $1 million to a potential patron if they spin the wheel and spin $1 million. What a night, Sandown Park.
And it's increased since last year, 600,000 up to $1 million. So let's get stuck into it and have a look at the box draw and the markets for the 2017 TAB Melbourne Cup. In box 1, the favourite Aston DB at $2.50. In 2, Cooter Mayhem, $5. In 3, Chase and Crackers, $21. In 4, Raw Ability, $7. In 5, Uphill Jill, $10. In 6, Bewildering, $3.50. In 7, Aston Miley, $16. And in 8, Striker Light, $15. The 2 reserves not available, and Ando's Mac. Well, huge field. Let's run through this. Should we start with Aston DB?
I think we should. He's the TAB favourite at this point, around the $2.50. He was the fastest heat winner, going 29.12. He's one of 2 runners prepared by Ray Border or owned by Ray Border. Look, he's never won a group race, but this is his chance. He's been placed in the Adelaide Cup, placed in the Top Gun. I think he looks beautifully drawn in 1.
All right, let's go on to box 2 now.
Cooter Mayhem for Jason and Jessica Sharp. Well, they had a reserve in the Melbourne Cup a few years ago with a greyhound by the name of Sacramento Sal. They've now got a runner in the race. He's a greyhound who I think's got the ability to reel off some really, really fast sections. I think he can go a lot faster than what he did in the heat. And box number 2 looks ideal. Chase and Crackers into box number 3. Now, this greyhound's clearly much better drawn in 3 than he was in the Vic Peters Classic final in Sydney. He was drawn out wide there. He probably lacks a little bit of pace in comparison to this hot field of speed in the Melbourne Cup, but if he lobs the rail behind them, I think he's going to get a nice run through.
Okay, what about Raw Ability?
Well, Raw Ability lived up to his name on Friday night in the heats. He was outstanding jumping from a wide draw. The only thing I will say, the speed around him wasn't great in that heat, which made him look a little bit better than he actually was, but yet his sections were still flying. 4.95, 18.54, 2 very smart sections, 29.20 overall. He won the Adelaide Cup recently. He's a flying machine, and he comes in with a real confidence-picking run last outing.
Okay, and what do you like about Uphill Jill?
What don't we like about Uphill Jill? She's a great little greyhound, isn't she? She won the Top Gun recently. She's taken Dave Gill on a great ride. She's, I think, been runners-up in 3 Group 1s prior to winning that Top Gun, so it was well-deserved. And now she finds herself in a Melbourne Cup, but from box number 5, she's going to need to really bring her A game. All
right, I'm very intrigued to see what you say about Bewildering, because I know you like this one.
Yeah, he is an amazing greyhound to watch. I actually post-race interviewed trainer Shona Thompson after the race, and there were tears of joy, tears of emotion, because this greyhound means so much to the connections. He's such a fast greyhound. He deserves to be in a race like this. He needs luck because he's not the best of beginners, but I do feel his field sense is the best it's ever been. He's starting to duck and weave a lot better. If he misses the kick with so much early speed, he'll drop onto the rail. I think he's a massive chance.
All right, let's move on to box 7, Aston Miley.
Aston Miley, for Eddie Lysad, he was tickled pink just to have a runner in the race. Look, it's going to be a tough assignment from box number 7, but one thing I will say, the Geelong Cup form into a Melbourne Cup always stacks up really well, so she's got to be some kind of a rough chance.
Okay, and finally, Striker Light.
Well, Striker Light, she's turned out to be one of the golden girls of Australian greyhound racing, and I thought she was back to her brilliant best in the heat. Went 5.01, 18.55, 29.36. Prior to that, she's won the Egg and also the Futurity in Sydney, both at Group 1, so she's well and truly used to this company. I think box 8's going to suit her because we saw in the heat she just stepped up the track a little bit initially before really accelerating. So box 8, a little bit of trouble on the rails, and who knows, she might go bang from the outside.
All right, well, you've always got your work cut out for you. There's no doubt about that, but there's a lot of pressure is riding on you right now for the selections.
Well, you try and get the Melbourne Cup right, and it's probably the hardest race to tip for the year. Although, just before I get into selections, Ali, I've put together a graphic. Now, this is the times I believe these greyhounds will be able to run with an unimpeded, clear run. I think Bewildering's the fastest greyhound in the race. I've got him going 29.05 with a clear run. 29.06, just 1/100th behind the kettlemate Aston DB. And the 3rd fastest greyhound in the race is Raw Ability at 29.20. So we then have to calculate who's going to find trouble, how the race is going to pan out. And with that in mind, my selections for the TAB Melbourne Cup, I've gone 1, 6, 4 and 8. I've gone 1 Aston DB, the favourite on top. The key for this race, Ali, is he must begin. He must push hard through the first corner. He's renowned for shouldering through at the first bend, but if he doesn't hit the start, there's so much speed he could get caught back. For second, I've gone number 6, Bewildering. He's going to miss the kick, I think, in my opinion, drop right behind them. If Aston DB leads, he might get the trail through. For third, 4, Raw Ability, he'll have to begin like he did in the heat. And for fourth, going 8, Striker Light, I just thought based on the little bit of trouble, she might get the run out wide. Tossed up for fourth with also Chase and Crackers, who I think's drawn to get a nice run.
I was interested to see who you might pick. We thought it could be a...
Yeah, well, it was touch and go. It was.
All right, well, let's move on to your $20 suggested bet now.
Yeah,
Simplify it for the punters.
Well, it's pretty simple this time. I think it's a tough race. I am tipping Aston DB on top, but I don't think he's great value at $2.50 just based on the fact, as I say, if he doesn't ping out, he could be in a little bit of trouble. I've gone a box trifecta numbers 1, 3, 4, 6 and 8. So boxing 5 of them to finish in the top 3. And I guess with that in mind, you're almost hoping that Striker Light might win with a little bit of value and see how that plays out. But it's going to be a massive race, an enormous field. One of the best TAB Melbourne Cups we've ever seen.
Looks like Aston DB is the one to beat. So you think. Okay, let's move on because the Bold Trease, the final, is another big race, big money, and Fanta Bale could be the third dog to be worth $1 million or over $1 million.
Yeah, $1 million in prize money. I think she looks the one to beat. My selections for the Bold Trease, I've gone 3, 7, 2 and 5. It's just that fabulous will to win she has. She always finds a way. She was kept fresh for the heats last week and she was just brilliant. She ran them ragged. I think Raccoon's a really exciting greyhound. His runs over the 600 leading up to this series were the greatest or the fastest we've nearly ever seen from a 600 metre greyhound on the run home. The concern I have for Raccoon is can he reproduce that second run over 7.15 after he really went fast through the marks last week. For third, 2, Ebby Ripper, she'll be right out the back, but she flies home. And then number 5, Champagne Sally for the Queenslanders.
Love that name.
Yeah, I think she'll run a really good race. She's nailed to the rail. If she finds the fence, she'll run a big race. But look, the other Zipping Lady was a career best run last outing. Packy Keeping's full of class. Moment to Jive, a really nice type now prepared by Matt Lanigan. And Petunia Manelli, who I thought was really impressive in the heat. That is a massive race, the Bold Trease, worth $145,000 in prize money. And just before we go, Ali, just touching on some of the big winners of these races. We've had Betty's Angel in 2006, our Grand Senior winning the Melbourne Cup in 2010. Got a Moment, Black Magic Opal. They went back-to-back 2012, 2013 for the Thompson Kennel, whilst this race here, the Bold Trease, some big names like Miata, Sweet It Is, and last year, It's a Bird. So these two races, they're made for champions.
Oh, I'm excited. Who will win the 2017 TAB Melbourne Cup? It's all happening this Friday night. You will not want to miss any of the action at Sandown Park. For more information, you can head online to grv.org.au.